I'm very grateful that now we can come to another highlight of our talk or our day today. And this is a great presentation from Pascal, the chairman of the governing board of the European Cybersecurity Center, who will give us insights about what is the vision. We learned yesterday that we need a resilient Europe, and Europe needs to be strong, digital, and also in terms of cybersecurity. And the ECCC and the network of NCCs, where Concordia is also contributing to the NCCs or to exchange. I hope this will be then very enlightening to see what is the strategy for Europe in the next years. Pascal, please.
Thank you. I have a mic. Thank you very much for having invited me to this event. Concordia is one of the 4 pilot projects. You all know this. Pilot projects specifically with the objective to support this creation of the ECCC, of the European Cybersecurity Competence Center. Things are happening a bit in parallel at the moment. As you know, the ECCC has already been created. The regulation has been voted last year. The governing board I have the pleasure to chair is operational since this year. And so slowly we are getting into operations. You know that the center is, or will be, located in Bucharest. It is not the case yet. Things are being set up to, I would say, create such an European agency. It's called center, but it's a bit similar as European agency is takes quite some time. So linked to the ECCC, but I would say more globally, I wanted to talk a bit about cybersecurity for Europe, in the sense of giving you, as was said, a bit my vision or my opinion about this, how cybersecurity should develop in Europe. What are the key strategies, for instance, that will shape, that will make sure or help us, all of us, I would say public as well as private sector, to shape the European cybersecurity future. I will show you what I mean with Team Cyber for Europe, and then obviously give you the latest information about Horizon and Digital Europe. You probably know all this already, but these are the things that are ongoing at the moment, and which are 2 of the major instruments that are at so the ECCC disposal, but also general for Europe, which will help to shape this. And then, last but not least, give you a little bit of insights into the ECCC. Where are we? What is the status? What is ongoing? What will bring the next few years? So, for me, I think there are 3 major strategies, European strategies that are already there, that have been identified, which are important for cybersecurity. First of all, we have the very large, broad strategy, digital for the digital future. And you see the main 3 action items here of this strategy, which is really very broad, very conceptual at a certain point, at a certain level. So, technology that works for people, fair and competitive digital economy, and open, democratic, and sustainable society. So, very broad topics, but that show that, and especially for us, people from cybersecurity, I think it's important to have this as an objective, as a goal, and to show us that cybersecurity we should not do cybersecurity for cybersecurity. We should do cybersecurity for democratic, for sustainable, for making sure that people can be in an environment that is fair and obviously is competitive with other areas of the world. Because here we're talking specifically about Europe, and the objective, obviously, with all this is to strengthen Europe. So in this digital strategy,
sorry, Pascal,
there are questions. Okay, let's go.
Can we see get these slides later on, or should we not?
The slides can be distributed. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. I have a few notes which will not be distributed, but the slides as well as such can be distributed. No problem. So I will provide a PDF document afterwards. What I wanted to say is that what the ECCC should do as soon as it is really operational is to make sure that in this digital strategy we can put cybersecurity in it. So I'll make sure that security concerns are also considered when developing these strategies. On the other side, there is the European Security Union strategy, which focuses on security, all type of security. You see things like organized crime, terrorism, hybrid threats, illegal content, border control. So really all types of security. And in there already, this strategy is a bit younger than the other one. In this strategy, we already have the cyber dimension. We have here cybersecurity as one topic. We have cybercrime. We have aspects about skills and awareness, cooperation exchange. A lot of aspects will also be important and which also should be done in the area of cybersecurity. So there are this digital strategy, the security strategy, and basically we are in between, which is the European cybersecurity strategy. You probably all know all these documents, but this is the version from, I think, 2000, if I don't remember well, 20 or something, which, and as you see in the 3 pillars, which tries to have this stretch. So there is a focus on resilience, technology, with already words of like sovereignty and leadership in it, which are things we will come back a bit later. The second pillar being more the operational aspects, the fact that Europe should have the capacity, the competence to prevent, to protect, but also to respond in case of incidents. And then the third pillar, quite important as well, is the global outreach and the fact that, well, cyberspace, internet is an international network, so it's open, it's international. And we cannot look at it like this, only the European aspect. It needs to be seen as a broad thing. So international aspects are also important in cybersecurity. And on the left side of the slide, you have a few pointers to regulations, to entities, or to initiatives, activities that fit into these pillars. So, for instance, the current or the latest, it has been voted, the NIS2 directive is in that pillar because it will concern resilience. Obviously, the new Resilience Act and all the things that are there, but which are not finalized yet, which are not voted yet. So they still will see some changes. The ECCC is obviously in there because we have the technological development, we have these aspects here. Cybersecurity shields, also something that is already present in the European cybersecurity strategy. And I will come back to it because that's a mission that has been given to the ECCC lately. Then we have the DIH, already heard about the DIH, Digital Innovation Hub, which is another initiative from the Commission to create a network in Europe of hubs, mainly focusing on regional or sectorial aspects that should foster, promote, and support the digitization, innovation, and especially in industry. So at the moment, there are many DIHs that are being set up throughout Europe, some regional, some national, some European. So there is this status of European Digital Innovation Hub, which is being discussed as well. And they have four or three, I don't remember, but 3 or 4 technology streams that they will cover, which is AI, which is high performance computing, and cybersecurity. The fourth, I don't remember, but cybersecurity is in there. That's why it is on this slide. So this network of DIH, which will be way bigger than the network of national coordination centers in the framework of ECCC, I would say there is a need to make sure that we connect the things and that we coordinate and collaborate on these aspects. On the operational side then, we have obviously ENISA. You all know ENISA, the European Cybersecurity Agency. CERT EU, the European CERT, Computer Emergency Response Team. And then things like the JCU, which stands for Joint Cyber Unit, which is in fact a kind of meta group where ENISA, CERT EU, and the different, I would say, national operational entities work together in case of an incident, in case of a large-scale attack, and these kind of things. So it's really on the operational side. It's on the sharing information to prevent and detect attacks, but also respond together to large-scale cyber attacks. Then there are discussions about the fund to I would say, make it more efficient, make it help companies or entities that struggle with setting up their capacities to have a fund to make sure that these things are evolving faster. The third then is on the international scale. So there is a new area that is developing, which is called diplomacy. Sorry, in there is cyber policy. So, which is an area of cybersecurity which is not technical, which is more, I would say, legal policy, diplomacy oriented, connecting the needs or making sure that the European values flow into the international community, flow into the international agreements. And one really interesting thing that is happening now at the moment is this weird acronym, UNHC, stands for UN, United Nations. AHC stands for Ad Hoc Committee. And then the rest is Ad Hoc Committee for the creation of an international convention to prevent cybercrime. So at the moment, at the UN level, there is a discussion, there's a working group, to create an international convention on cybercrime, which is a very good thing because cybersecurity is international. Those of you that are active on a more operational level see this, I would say, every day, that when there are attacks, when there are issues, when there are incidents that need to be managed, I would say there are always many countries involved in. And so to have such an international convention is really an important step. And this is why in the strategy to have this topic of considering global aspects is quite important. EU CyberNet is another European project which is more focusing on cooperation and development, meaning that it's a project that puts the topic of cybersecurity on the map of the cooperation and development actions. And I invite you to check this out, because the EU CyberNet is at the moment creating a database of experts from Europe that are willing to participate into development projects, and that can then participate in projects. At the moment, there is one big project going on in Latin America. It is the Dominican Republic, Ecuador, and there are others being discussed also in Africa. But it's building on the capacity, on the expertise that Europe has, and making sure that on a global scale, Europe contributes to the overall cybersecurity posture. So this is really the focus of this third pillar. Globally, you see that, I would say, from an agency perspective or from an entity perspective, at the European level, we have mainly two agencies. Well, obviously, CERT-EU is also an agency and is also very relevant, but they are really more focused on the institutions itself. So what I mentioned before, Team Cyber for Europe, for me, that's ENISA and ECCC, these two agencies that are in connection with the market, with all the other players, with be it research, academia, be it private companies, be it all actors, all players, all organizations that are involved in cybersecurity, and make sure that all this gets at the European level. So ENISA, you know ENISA quite well, I think, is focusing at the moment a lot on, first of all, the critical infrastructure world, the so-called essential services around the NRS directive. So to help member states protect their critical infrastructures. And especially this European dimension is important because a lot of those companies that manage critical infrastructures or that are essential for one country are maybe also essential for another country. So it's cross-border. So that's why the fact that ENISA is participating in this is important to make sure that this cross-border interaction is active. And in this coordination group is specifically the group of all the national entities that coordinate in that respect. We have the CSERT network, network of CSERTs in Europe, and we have Cyclone, which is a dedicated group which will only come in play when there is a crisis, when there is a large-scale incident, to make sure that coordination goes on. So ENISA is really on the operational side of cybersecurity, in the day-to-day business, in I would say interacting with many of you, maybe not daily, but at least at a certain rhythm throughout the year. Whereas the ECCC is more concentrating on the long term, on the future. So looking at what are the needs, what are how can we shape Europe in a cybersecure manner. The NCC, the community, I will come back to that a bit later. Let's look at our ECCC mission itself, and I promise you that I come back on the words leadership and sovereignty. Here we have leadership and strategic autonomy, which should say the same. Sovereignty is a word which is a bit, I would say, which is quite questioned at the moment, especially at international level. So strategic autonomy is more is clearer. It says more what really is behind. Because what is behind is that the ECCC should make sure, or should strengthen, as it says, that Europe gets or becomes leader in cybersecurity, and this in the world. So compared to, there we compare ourselves not country by country, but Europe versus, or not versus, but Europe is alongside USA, China, and all the other continents. So USA, Asia, and well, Africa obviously as well, but I would say the major challenge is on USA and Asia. And so the focus is really to make sure that in Europe we have all the capabilities, all the capacity, that in the European market we have all the expertise that is needed for cybersecurity, and that basically we can be autonomous from other countries or from other continents. So this is quite a challenge already. One main tool or one major mission in this is of course to support the development, the research, the innovation, technological development in this area of cybersecurity. So to make sure that all the topics, all the things that are being researched, that are being developed, go into that direction. Make sure that we develop resilient systems, that the critical infrastructure, so those entities that are critical, are essential for the economy, that they can build on top of solutions that are coming from Europe. So these are a bit the ideas behind the ECCC. Then obviously technology is important, innovation is important, but people are also very important. So it is also important to make sure that there is the workforce that is needed for all these things, that we have training activities, that there are education programs, so that there are continuously new people coming into the cybersecurity market, but also making sure that in all countries, all over Europe, there are also lifelong learning activities, and that every person that gets the needed awareness, the needed skills to tackle the little challenges, I say little, that we all have all day long. So an email that contains a malicious file, or a link that is redirecting to a website where someone wants to phish your password. These little things, I would say everybody should know how to respond to it, how to maybe avoid it, but at least also know what to do when you fall in a trap, because it's the quantity-wise, it's the biggest challenge that we have today. Yesterday I was in Malta for the launch of the National Cybersecurity Competence Center of Malta, and there they presented a few statistics, and in Malta, 75% of all the attacks registered in the last 2 years were phishing, were based on email. I think in other countries it's quite similar. In Luxembourg, where I come from, is very similar. So this is also critical. It's very, I would say, it's very low profile. It's very bottom up, but it's important. And all these three elements are important then to increase the European competitiveness. So it's linked again to the aspects here in the first mission, but more market-wise, economy-wise, so that It should not be a closed approach where voilà, we want to block everything and only do our internal cuisine in Europe and do not interact with others. Obviously not. I would say European values are of course important. So it's really on the market perspective. So to make sure that the European market is competitive, has the capacity to challenge the companies from other countries. And yes, this is a huge challenge. So we'll see how this works. So this can obviously not be done alone. From the perspective of the ECCC, we need all of you to participate in this. Because challenges are many. There are many challenges that needs to be tackled. There are technological challenges, there are legal challenges, operational challenges, there are human challenges, and very present at the moment, geopolitical challenges, of course. A little list, not exhaustive list, but a few aspects that we at the level of ECCC are looking into, that are topics that are on the, I would say, on the agenda of the different programs, be it Horizon, be it Digital Europe. So obviously we have the classicals, the supply chain, 5G, IoT. We have the post-quantum crypto aspects. We have AI aspects. But then also, I would say more general things that I mentioned before. So the skills shortage, the awareness, the focusing on small entities to make sure that we don't lose 80% of our markets, because Europe's market economy is based on 80%, more or less, depending a bit on the countries, but it's more or less that, on small and medium-sized companies. And they often struggle a lot with that topic, even if it is quite present today. And I reference again to the conference I was yesterday, because in this survey in Malta, they did a survey also and about the cybersecurity of the different companies. And when they looked at SMEs, Malta being a very small country, like Luxembourg, an SME for Malta and for Luxembourg, that's, I would say, less than 50 people. But from all those companies that are less than 50 people, there were 60% who more or less said that they don't care about cybersecurity, or they do not have anything, or they do not have anything in place in cybersecurity. And the next question was, why do you not have anything in place about cybersecurity? And 40% said, because we don't care. So this is quite worrying. And so it's important to find ways to address all those small companies, because they are part of the economic tissue, and we need to make sure that they are secured as well, because they are clients, they are providers of big companies. And we have seen so many incidents where a small company has been compromised, and this was the way into a bigger company. So this is really important. So this is also specifically when you look at the ECCC regulation, this special focus on SMEs comes out at several times as well. Then there is also aspects, of course, I would say more information sharing, joint analysis response, so to work more together to kind of find ways, be it by funding projects or by other ways, creating platforms, creating events or organizing things where operation entities can work together more efficiently, in a more continued way. Then there is also the aspect of dual use, especially becoming more and more prominent these days with the geopolitical situation. that technology that is being developed on the defense side or in other classified sectors could be beneficial also for the civil world, for non-classified. And there to create more synergies, to, again, join efforts and avoid double, triple spending. So the two major instruments I mentioned already at the disposal of the ECCC is the European, the Horizon Europe program and the Digital Europe program. Now at the moment, you probably know all this, there are these topics that are being, these calls that are open on the side of the Horizon Europe program. The others, I would say, for the next years are also already in the making, or some are already published. So you see things like I mentioned before, quantum-resistant cryptography, trustworthy methodologies to dynamic testing. So really operational things. So problems that would need a certain thinking, and that's why it is research. The detection response in complex and heterogeneous systems. So all these things that would need really input from you, from researchers, to make sure that we develop technologies, that we identify solutions that are afterwards valuable and that can be used by the more operation entities. This is where the Digital Europe program comes in, which is more on the operational side of things, which is more on the infrastructure side of financing things that are more immediately operational. And there we find back this cyber shield that I mentioned already before. European cyber shield, this is an objective in the European cybersecurity strategy. And here is I would say the package that will be financed via the Digital Europe program, where we have, well, the objective is to create cyber resilience. So we have the training aspects linked to cyber ranges. We have capacity building of security operation centers, which is really the hot topic at the moment. So to identify what are the mechanisms, what are the instruments, what is also the technology needed for cross-border collaboration, and not only in case of incident, but continuously, day by day, to better detect and better prevent, and also in case it is relevant, respond to cyber attacks throughout Europe. So that is this SOX initiatives. And then the other things like secure 5G, uptake of solutions for SMEs. Okay, so we find back here the focus on SMEs, and then a specific support to health sector linked a bit to what happened during COVID time. So this is why this is in there, because as I said, Digital Europe is really practical, is immediate. So it's needs that are immediate, that need to be implemented immediately. Then another, I would say, area which the ECCC, and this is the Digital Europe program, is really the program that the ECCC has as its disposal. The Horizon Europe, as you know, there is the Horizon Europe Program Committee, etc. And so it needs to be still cleared out exactly how will this will work in the future. So the ECCC has the mission also to help to support the implementation of all the other regulations. So be it the NIS directive, be it the ECCC directive itself, so the national coordination centers, the NCCs, have the possibility to request for support, for funding, for their setup. The community as well, the NIS directive, and here we see testing and certification, so this is linked to the Cybersecurity Act. You know that there is the Resilience Act, there is the CHIPS Act, there is the Data Governance Act, and there is many other acts that are in the making, that are on the table of discussion, and all this will also be supported via the ECCC. Quantum already pops up every time, of course, because it's important. We need to prepare for the future, because if at a certain point of time we have quantum computers that are operational, that can be used, I would say, by more or less everybody, we definitely have a big issue with encryption, because all the data that has been collected but was encrypted and which the criminals could not use, could not abuse. Well, maybe in 5-10 years, when they have quantum computers, they will be able to decrypt it and abuse this data. And some of them probably is still relevant only after 10 years as well. And then aspects around skills is also another part of the Digital Europe program. So here you have the more detailed figures, amounts that are foreseen for this program. And probably, as you know, as you have seen, the calls should have opened in September, but there was a little delay. And so these calls will open in mid-November, on the 15th, if I remember well. Now to the ECCC. So the ECCC, European Cybersecurity Competence Center, as I said, is not alone. It has a network of national coordination centers and a community. And all this should work together, because putting 40, 50 people somewhere in Bucharest to try to save cybersecurity of Europe is not a good plan. So that's why there is this network. There is the link with the community, because altogether we need to tackle all these challenges that we know, and I mentioned a few before. So as I said, the ECCC itself is not yet fully operational, unfortunately. We are working on it, but there is the first multi-annual work program. So for the next 2 years, which has these four objectives. The first one being, I would say, really more internal cuisine. That's really, I would say, more the administrative procedures that need to be done. But as a European agency, everything needs to be transparent and planned, else you cannot do it. That's why these things need to be in the work program. I will give you a little status updates later where exactly we are at the moment. Objective 2 then is linked to the Digital Europe program, so to make sure that all the things that I've showed you before, well, continue its development, and that the different relevant topics get into the next years of this program. As I said, Digital Europe program is really something that the ECCC has in his hands. Horizon Europe needs to be done together with the program committee of Horizon Europe. And where relevant means, well, of course, in all these programs is not only cybersecurity, there are other topics, but the ECCC obviously will only concentrate on the specific cybersecurity programs. Because the objective of the ECCC, why do we have the ECCC? Why was there a need to do this? Well, to make sure that when it comes to cybersecurity, that all these programs, all these mechanisms that throughout the years integrated the topic of cybersecurity, that it gets more coherent and more coordinated, and that synergies are being created in the future. The third objective then, well, is again a bit more internal cuisine, plus the input from the bottom up, from the community, from all of you, to make sure that the ECCC is not deciding somewhere as I said, in Bucharest, and without being connected to the real world. So that is really important. And the fourth point is building the network of these national coordination centers. And the community, well, the community doesn't need to be built, it's there, but it needs to be interconnected. There needs to be clear what exactly does it mean to be part of the community, what are the possibilities, what is how the information can flow, what can be influenced in what way. That's the idea. So voilà, so for the internal cuisine parts, as I said, there are a lot of procedures. The offices in Bucharest are being worked on, are not ready yet. The executive director, some of you know, the application just closed in September. So the selection process starts now. This will take some time, unfortunately. I would say being optimistic generally, me as a person, I hope that it will happen before summer next year, but we'll see. Then the team is already there. Is recruitments ongoing, so you see these things on the website of the center, and so we should have a first team ready beginning of next year. Well, without the executive director, but there is an interim at the level of the commission, so things can start working. And then another way how it works at the moment is via working groups at the level of the governing boards, including the network of NCCs. So several of these working groups are established, are working already, and some new ones are in the making. Digital Europe, Horizon Europe, I mentioned already what is ongoing. Today, for the future, the program 2023-2024 for the DEP is being worked on and will already be, so the ECCC will already shape this program. For Horizon Europe, the ECCC will most probably, and again being optimistic, only be able to really influence the Horizon program as from 2024. Objective 3 then, so the work program and especially the agenda. So the strategic agenda, that is really the core document that will define the high level strategies, the long term strategy of the ECCC concerning all its activities, and from there, the idea is then to grain down and identify topics to put into depth, to put into Horizon Europe and in other instruments that are available. So this is what we are working on at the moment very heavily, and we really hope that the first version of this strategic agenda, which will be a public document, is ready before the end of the year. I can give you a little highlight already. So there is, we have identified 3 main objectives: technical, human, and organizational. So to address the 3 major areas in cybersecurity. So in technical, there are obviously areas like post-quantum. I said post-quantum appears again and again all the time. But also critical infrastructure, resilience, risk management. So things that are already there, but which needs to be continued. On the human side, obviously, things around skills. And one topic which is being discussed a lot at the moment is certification of people. Because in the Cybersecurity Act, we have certification, but only of processes, products, and services. Which is ENISA is working on, and certification of people is something that is in Europe missing still. So there is the idea. Okay, let's see if we can via the ECCC initiate something in that area. And on the operational side, then obviously it's the collaboration aspects, it's the cyber shield aspects. It's really to make sure that that we get market dynamic, that we get, we enable also funding of startups and all these kind of things. You probably heard that last week, the European Investment Bank presented its project of an European cybersecurity dedicated fund or fund of funds. Or they have their special words about what it exactly is like, but the idea is that they would put a big amount of money on the table and supporting private investors to raise the bar of investments in cybersecurity. Because in their study, the EIB compared, obviously, to other continents, and each year in Europe, there are 1.7 billion euros of less spending than in USA and China, for instance, if we compare. So 1.7 million each year. So that's a lot of money, and they did not say that they will put this money on the table every year, but we'll see how much it will be in the end. The study has just been published, so things still need to be identified. And then the last objective, the last work item is on the NCC, on the network. So a growing number of NCCs are getting ready, are getting established. I mentioned yesterday I was in Malta for the launch of the Maltese NCC. So one more to the club, that's perfect, that's super, can start activities. And what is important is that you don't need the ECCC to be operational because the NCCs are operational. They are your contact point in your country. They are getting operational, they are already ready, they can already help you and make sure that voila, the things start rolling and collaboration is ongoing. There will be some guidelines to clear things out, to make sure exactly that everybody understands what, how, and how the things should work, coming soon. On the next year agenda are two important aspects. Is one, what we call the market observatory. So this is really the idea that ECCC is continuously looking at the markets. What are the needs? What is the capacity? What is the expertise in the market? So that it uses really this very realistic view on the situation to then influence the difference or put the topics into its instruments on one side, and on the other side, the market observatory is also a promotion tool. The idea is that it is an open platform that all companies, all players on cybersecurity in Europe can get the visibility on this platform, so that an SME in the south of Spain, for instance, knows that in Estonia there is another company that exactly has this solution that it's looking for. So this is another very important aspect to get this, I would say, to achieve this autonomy in a sense, because first to achieve autonomy we first need to know what we have and work with the expertise, know the expertise that is there, and use this expertise. The SAG is the Strategic Advisory Group. So that is a group of individuals that will represent the community, the European community. Something that will be set up, probably only next year, because first we need the community. We need to know a bit more. I would say get things settled, and then identify the representative people that will advise, obviously, then the ECCC in the strategic agenda. So this strategic agenda defining the overall topics. So last week there was the fourth governing board meeting of the ECCC. We decided to create new working groups alongside the ones that are already existing. One around skills, education, and workforce aspects. So these aspects, and one around this specific topic of SOX and Cyber Shield. Again, these are things which really need to be done together with the people in the markets, together with the institutions, the companies, the players that are active in these areas. And again, this will be done via the NCCs. To conclude, our fostering cooperation is really one of the main objectives of the ECCC. We cannot do anything. We can do nothing alone. Especially in cybersecurity, we see this cooperation is key. Public-private, but also public-public and private-private, cross-border, for instance. The network and the community are key elements in this. And then, I mentioned mostly all these things already. Only this cascading funding thing, which is a mechanism that enables NCCs, so local entities, to also fund local things. So no need to go up to Europe and take a long process to define things and have things in the European programs. No, there is a possibility for NCCs, for smaller projects, to do direct funding of these using money from Europe, but that's why it's called cascading funding. So, but this is an important tool as well to be faster, to do more practical and efficient and rapid action, especially when it comes for SMEs, for instance. This is an important tool for this aspect. Then what we initiated last week as well is a discussion with two other big sectors, two other big players at European level, ESA and EDA, so European Space Agency and the European Defence Agency, to there as well identify, first of all, where can be possible synergies linked to that dual use aspect, and how can we, join efforts to develop technologies that can be beneficial for multiple worlds. Thank you for your attention, and yeah, questions obviously are possible.
Yeah, are there any questions directly to Pascal?
I hear, and I agree with you that it's important. You talk many times about SMEs, but I'm from university, and I do believe it would also be good to have stronger collaboration between universities that work in cybersecurity in Europe. Do you have any specific plans to foster collaboration between cybersecurity research at academia, or should it always be in conjunction with companies or whatever?
Well, there is first of all the Horizon Europe program, which somehow forces collaboration because you need to be multiple players coming from different countries to participate in such calls. So that is one important aspect, but it's more topic based. So there are other things which are not directly linked to the ECCC, but we'll see how things evolve, like the Erasmus program, which is then more on the student, on the academia side of things, but which also brings in or fosters collaboration between universities. Other things, I would say, ideas are welcome, and yeah. What do you have a specific idea or think where you see a gap in this?
Well, let me say a little bit about myself. I'm in Decipher in the Netherlands. That's the coordination organization for cybersecurity. And I see that everything is under the umbrella of the Ministry of Economic Affairs, at least in the Netherlands. Mm-hmm. And so they only look at companies, which I understand, but companies are interested in solutions that work now or within a few years. So technical readiness levels, which are much higher. In the Netherlands, we created Access, which is a collaboration between all the universities that do work in cybersecurity, and we do things together. And that is more, say, the long-term research. And some of that research will make it to the market later, but it's too early now to decide. But my feeling is that we neglect this more basic cybersecurity research. Mm-hmm. Your reference to Erasmus is something, yet for that we don't need the European Cybersecurity Competence Center. That already exists, so that's nothing extra. So yes. I think it's crucial that also academia within Europe works together at TRL levels which are not comparable to something that industry is at this moment interested in. Mm-hmm.
I would say I absolutely agree. In other countries, we see that the NCC, for instance, is a a collaboration between Ministries of Education, Ministry of Economy, but also Ministry of Research, and to create this link to have it in that sense more global at the level of the ECCC. Yes, absolutely. I would say that is an important aspect. So what exactly would be interesting to do. In the strategic agenda, there is this aspect about collaboration, organization, also this objective, the third one that I mentioned, which is focusing on collaboration. So in there, probably we could identify this as a need, and then see how it can be implemented.
Maybe just a very practical example that could work is something like what we had in the past, network of excellences. You don't need to spend an awful lot of money, but it gives an opportunity for academia to meet each other, to talk to each other, to have joint papers or whatever. But things like, instruments like that are things that I hope that you could also put on your work agenda.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, other
input taken.
Questions? Here, directly.
Pascal, you mentioned in the beginning the EDIH, but they are not part of these 4 objectives. How do you see them linked with the objectives? Or are these next year objectives? Or digital innovation hubs,
yes.
Out of 4 objectives, where do they fall?
The DIH are not under the umbrella of the ECCC. It's something else, but it's the ECCC, in the ECCC regulation. It says that we as ECCC, because we come before DIH is already existing, okay, they are already there. We should make sure that for the topic of cybersecurity, we coordinate with them. So as soon as the network of NCCs is finalized, is established, but those NCCs that are already operational are already getting in touch with their local DIHs or with the digital innovation hubs that are in their region or in their country, to make sure that that on the topic of cybersecurity, that we are working on the same. In the same strategy, yeah. So that's ongoing.
Okay, so it's more on the NCC level that there will be some.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Okay, I don't see direct questions anymore. Then thanks again, Pascal.